Welcome to another episode of Day Sports. Got plenty to cover today, from rugby league to cricket to UFC. There's going to be a little bit of everything. So make sure you do like, subscribe, follow all the socials. Going to link all that in the bio because there's going to be so much stuff coming up, particularly with the footy season about to kick off. NRL is only just starting. So make sure you are following so you don't miss any of that stuff. Jumping straight into it today, there has been all sorts of news surrounding Dylan Brown at the Parramatta Eels. It does look a little bit like Dylan Brown may want out of Parramatta. So there's been emails from his manager that have leaked basically straight after sending from all the clubs that he sent out. So supposedly he was kind of shopping Dylan Brown around a little bit, trying to see what they might be offering, who might be interested. And straight after sending an email, bang, it's been leaked. At Parramatta, I'm genuinely concerned for them. It really does seem like the ship is going down. A mutiny occurred towards the end of last season with them getting rid of their captain, Mr. Parramatta Eels, Clint Gutherson, going off to the Dragons. I think that would have spooked probably a lot of players, considering he's really, in a way, your most valuable being your captain, just kind of getting sent away, not wanted here. So I think that is going to be a massive loss for them. And like I said, I am worried with the Eels. I do think they could genuinely be in the contention for the spoon, or at least in that match again this year where they're fighting for it. It wouldn't surprise me if they ran it back. Tigers versus Eels, Spoon Bowl 2 at the end of 2025 season, because there just seems to be dramas there. It just gives massive club and turmoil type of stuff. But Dilly Brown, he might be looking to jump ship. Nothing really confirmed so much from him. Again, we have seen this so many times with different players in clubs. Management, I guess more so than anything, kind of shopping these players around to boost their price or see what else they might be able to get on the market. There's been so much talk around the contract that Dylan Brown's on. He's, as far as I'm aware, on quite a bit of money. Being a pretty gun six in the halves, there's few and far between any of those kind of good players. It is really hard for clubs to get these six. They don't come through on halves. They don't really come through that often. So he's got a lot of power in his position that he's in, particularly with the contract clauses that are in place. That just allows him to, every other year basically, potentially go to another club. And he's 26, 27, however old he might be. Yes, they went to the grand final a few years ago, but I think he'd be looking at that club, Gutho moving, different things going on, coaches gone, all this happening and going, am I realistically going to be winning a premiership here in the next few years? And I think if I was him, I'd be like, no, fuck this shit. I'm also out of here. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if, there is definitely some truth that he does want to get out of there. We're not really going to know. I think it's till round, however many rounds in. I think it's up to round 10 or something like that. He's got the ability to negotiate and do whatever. So bit of a doozy that the emails got leaked. Shitty situation for him to be in. Kind of just puts a spotlight on him. Obviously for Parramatta Eels, massive pressure on them. The screws are just going to be turning for them to try to get a contract in place to hold someone like Dylan Brown down. It's going to be massive head noise for them. He's going to be able to demand that big coin from other clubs, just like I said, with the scarcity of your quality halves. He's an international 5'8" with the Kiwis, highly sought after kind of player. Apparently he's even been offered up to the Wallabies. That's a bit of an interesting one, going over to Union. We've seen with Joseph Suaalii, everything that's kind of happened there, and Manu obviously going over to Japanese rugby. So, potentially big coin there for him. I don't see him going to rugby. That would be a bit of a strange move, but I definitely see him jumping ship to another one of these big clubs that could potentially be running for the title in the next few years. There's the really, really obvious ones. You got your Sydney Roosters. I think they're probably the club that has the most coin, the most capacity, and could be looking, still in that premiership sort of window. They have lost a lot of players though. There's big talk that they may even potentially slide out of the 8. It would be massive if that happened, but if they manage to get a player like Dylan Brown there in 2026, partnered up with Sam Walker, even Chatty Townsend if he's still kicking, but that would just be ridiculous if they manage to get that sorted. So I reckon if they get the chance, especially if there's whispers, these emails and that going on, I think they're going to have a solid crack at it. Another one would be the Dolphins as well. They've got a lot of coin and don't really have, I guess, a future six moving forward. Cody Nicarima goes in there. I guess Milford every now and again. Sullivan, whoever, kind of chops and changes. I guess it was Nicarima there for a little bit towards the end of last season. But with such an up-and-coming star like Katoa there at 7, you're going to need a guy like Dilly Brown, and those two would just be ridiculous together. Whether or not he wants to come up all the way to Queensland, you never know. If it does have something to do with money, then sure, they might be able to offer it. Again, though, it probably comes back to, are they potentially going to be winning a premiership in the next few years? Dolphins might be a little bit hard, and a lot of people don't think they're going to go great, especially with Wayne Bennett leaving. We've just seen it so many times. We've talked about it so many times, I guess, the destruction that he kind of leaves, the weight that he leaves when he leaves those clubs. Another one would be the Waz over in New Zealand. I would love to see this go through. Dylan Brown, obviously a Kiwi himself, international player for them, under the kind of leadership of a James Fisher-Harris and some of the guys over there. They've probably got the salary cap room. Sean Johnson leaving, you've got Lukey Metcalf there. Could Dylan Brown play a 7? It could be a possibility to, give him the keys to the kingdom kind of thing and say, hey, are you ready to lead this team around? Go for it. Him and Metcalf would just fucking carve things up. Only thing is, don't know if he's really a 7. Could he develop that, especially if he's got a guy like Shawnee Johnson there teaching him the ropes? That could be a possibility, but I reckon those 3 clubs are probably going to be your real runners there. There's going to be a heap of clubs interested, I think, if anything. There is, people doubting a little bit, maybe interest of clubs with, potential injuries, ACL relation type of stuff with Dylan Brown, but I think there's going to be plenty of interest there. Or the Eels are just going to have to come out and, bang, here's a little bit more money, enjoy that. He's kind of spent the entire time with the Eels, so it would be, pretty rough for the Parramatta fans and the club if he does, jump ship and get out of there. But can you blame the guy? He's just coming into that prime. Everyone's goal, you'd assume, playing rugby league is winning a premiership, playing for your country, or, state of origin. State of origin's out of the question for him. He's played for his country, so premiership, that's what will be on his mind, you'd think. And especially if he can get at a good club, that's building towards that, perfect spot for him to be. So I'm sure it's all going to play out over the next few weeks. Again, massive spotlight on the Parramatta Eels. We'll have to just see what happens with it all, but you'd be crazy not to get a player like Dylan Brown in your club. Switching over to the Brisbane Broncos. Now, who is going to be the hooker for the Brisbane Broncos in the 2025 season? They have more hookers than a fucking brothel, honestly. They've got that many laying around. There's Pakes, Walters, Smoothie, you got Moser, you got Ben Hunt even in there. Like, you got fucking 4 or 5, options, which is a great thing to have for Madge. But the news is coming out that Blakey Moser, he might be getting the nod from Madge. Now, it's getting the old, he's training their house down type of thing, but Madge, apparently he is quite impressed with what Moser has had to offer in this preseason so far. Madge is supposedly not settled on anyone. That is the news coming out, that he is the front runner. But with that, why don't they just go ahead, drop the 9 jersey down in the middle of a ring and just say, boys, go at it. Whichever one is the last standing, you get the starting spot. It's going to be really interesting to see, who is going to come along. He's pretty much the most sought-after hooker in the game at the moment. People comparing him to Cameron Smith, which is just crazy considering he's only played a handful of first-class games or NRL games. Don't get me wrong, he is a gun. That's, undoubtable. But, you don't want to put that much pressure on a young player like that. He's, 20-something years old. He's got a long time ahead of him in the game, whether that is at the Broncos. Broncos would be mad to let him go to any other club, but I think they're starting to have that pressure of, any player would obviously like to be playing starting spot in the first side, not coming off the bench, not playing in reserve, whatever he has been doing over the last few seasons. And that's great as well, though. Great experience for him to build up into that spot, not getting put in there too early and, getting burnt out. But it's going to be very, very interesting. I think he really does need to crack that starting spot probably in the next year or so. If not, he will be looking elsewhere, I'd say, and probably getting some pretty hefty offers as well, from the different clubs out there. Hookers as well, another position that is so vital to all these teams. So, but the thing is, we just have too many. If it was down to me, I would be putting Moser as your starting hooker and then having Walters there as your 14. I think Walters adds a lot of stability across the team. He can play various different positions. He could probably play 6, 7, obviously play hooker. He could probably even play lock if you needed him to. So he can just plug and play. I think he'd still be pretty handy to have laying around. It's those other guys where it starts to get tricky. And then on top of that, the return of Ezra Mam around round 10 potentially. So you would assume that if all goes well, Ezra Mam would slot back into the 6th position, and then Ben Hunt would likely go into that starting 9. So then you'd have probably Moser and Walters fighting for that 14 spot. It's really going to depend on how they go. I guess there's a lot of moving parts with that, who's going to end up where. Walters, I think he's going to stick around. It's going to be your Corey Pakes and your Smoothie, I think, that are really going to be fighting for their spots in their team. Again, quality players. Corey Pakes, I think, was basically out the door, and Mad just said, no, hold up. Similar to Hetherington, we want you around. So he must see something there. Corey Pakes has played very well, but just hasn't been a mainstay in the main team for a while there now. So be really interesting. And then, yes, Ezra Mam. A lot of people are assuming that he's just going to be slotting straight back in at that 6. God, I can't even speak today. What if Hunt and Reno are fucking killing it as a halves pairing? Do you want to disrupt that? 10 rounds in, you're nearly halfway through the comp. Is it the best idea to be putting in Mam, who hasn't been playing? Yes, he's been training, but hasn't been getting hands on. Do you really want to disrupt that if everything is going really, really well? You never know. He might be made to play reserve grade for the rest of the year, and you might then have one of those hookers in there for the entire period of time. Reno could go down injured. There's just so many different things that could potentially happen. So it's really, really hard to see. I guess we'll tackle that. Once it comes along, there's going to be so much speculation about it once Mam is, ready to kind of return. Who knows? His training might be terrible. I don't think that's going to be the case. Obviously, I think he's going to be gunning it to really prove himself, right, some of the wrongs and, step up for the Broncos. But, I guess we're going to have to see once that comes along. So very, very interested. But yeah, supposedly Moser is the lead runner at the moment. He is going to be the future, no doubt, but it's just, when that's going to be happening. And it does make it pretty hard when you've got a guy like Ben Hunt, who a lot of people would say that's his best position there at hooker. And, unfortunately, Moser, I don't think you're getting over Dozer and the old 9 spot. A little bit more news for NRL before we jump over to cricket, but Nick Politis, Coke ban at the Roosters. Well, the Broncos, while Matt has got the 6-pack ban in place, Uncle Nick is looking to bring in a sugar booger ban at the Roosters. If players are supposedly caught with coke, which would be baffling, or test positive, or I guess have any sort of incident regarding that, he's looking to just tear the contract up on the spot, not have any sort of warning system or suspend them like they are meant to pretty much moving forward with that. It's going to be really, really hard, I think, for him to implement that. The RLPA will just be like, nah, that's ridiculous. These players should be given a chance. But, there's been so many incidents over the last few years that have been involving, various drugs, particularly coke and whatever else. Surprise there. But, I don't know how the hell that would look. What, the boys getting tested before they hit the training paddock? Every time they go play, they're getting to be tested. I don't think that's going to be the case, like a job site. But, yeah, unless something, some sort of incident happens where they are tested, say roadside tests or whatever, you're just probably never going to know. I cannot imagine a club trying to implement actual testing or anything. That would just be wild. But the Roosters, I think they are in a bit of a vulnerable spot at the moment. Players that are injured, obviously so many people leaving, a lot of speculation where they're going to kind of land this season, whether that's going to be in the 8, how they're going to go. A lot of that's up in the air, and the last thing they need is absolute head noise from some player getting involved in some incident. Like I was saying, we've just seen so many incidents, or at least a handful of incidents with big name players over the last few years that's bringing the game into disrepute. The Roosters just said, nah, don't want any of that, or at least Nicky, he's saying, nah, don't want any of that. So it's a bit of a tale as old as time, though. As long as there has been the rugby league player, there has been those who enjoy a little bit of the party stuff and enjoy a little bit of the sugar booger. It is what it is. It's one of those things. So in the off season, it's kind of just like, hey, look, not condoning it necessarily, but the boys can do whatever the hell they want. Just put the bloody phones down, because that seems to be the thing. Or don't get behind the wheel is obviously a massive one there. But I don't know what Nick's going to do. I don't know if he's going to have people going out that are going to be chauffeuring them around. They're going to be hanging out in the cubicles or something, making sure no players are going in there to celebrate their housing situation. I'm not too sure, but it's a bit of a given. And where Nick Politis has come from, apparently it's basically just like, look, it's illegal. They shouldn't be touching the stuff anyway. But boys will be boys when it comes to rugby league. That's all I can say. Now, a post that I did see on Triple M Cricket about the KFC Man of the Match. KFC Man of the Match is the award obviously given for the Man of the Match. It's kind of in the title. It's a little bit easy to say, but it is the most Australian thing of all time for that to be presented in a Zinger box. With a couple of gift cards inside it. Glenn Maxwell, he racked up, I think, his 14th man of the match the other day. And when you zoom in and have a look at the photo, you can see the voucher there for the KFC. And you'd think with the Big Bash kind of being the, the elite level of T20 that we have in the country outside of, the Australian national stuff, or at least the elite competition, I would have thought it would have been at least a couple $100 in KFC vouchers there. Major sponsor. You zoom in, $25 voucher. Now, to be fair, there could be a few stacked in there. You never know. That might go up to that 100. There might be 4 of them in there. But from what we can see, going off that information, there is one $25 KFC voucher. And it's got expiry dates and everything like that. I had a bit of a look to try to figure out who has got the most KFC vouchers from Man of the Matches, and it's Glenn Maxwell by a mile. Like I said, he's got 14 now. So that bloke would have at least $350 worth of Zinger Box vouchers, or at least KFC vouchers for old Maxi there. I'd love to know what they do with those. Is that just burning a hole in his pocket as soon as he leaves the game, bang, KFC drive-through Zinger Box combo, thank you very much, and smashes that when he gets home? Or is it one of those things, he's got a little stash that he just keeps piling up at home with all these ones, and they end up like, gift cards, you get for Christmas, your birthday, or whatever. The amount of people that get those for Bunnings, BCF, put them away in a drawer, forget about them, they expire, and they're just no bloody good. I would love to know. So Maxi, let us know if you can. And yeah, it'd be pretty funny. And from what I can see, I went through, and yes, I'm not going to go through every single player that's ever played, but from what I can see, coming up in second would be the Bison himself. So he's picked up 9 Man of the Match awards, which is quite a handful as well. And I reckon big old Mitchy Marsh would relish in a KFC voucher. I could see him punishing Wicked Wings, no worries at all. So I'd love to know if it really is just $25. I've seen some people say it's actually 50, but even then, I thought it'd be a lot more than that for getting Man of the Match. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, keeping with cricket, Sam Konstas, he is causing chaos with his stardom. I'm sure a lot of people kind of went viral, but the other day the Thunder put out a video titled The Konstas Effect, and it was some bloke who saw Sam Konstas going into Thunder training there somewhere in Sydney, and he smashes out a beautiful reverse park straight into the disabled park, which is one thing, but hey, leaps out of the car to presumably have a bit of a chat and probably get a photo or an autograph with Sam Konstas, who is the hot thing at the moment in Australian cricket. So look, can't blame the bloke. That's where it all starts to go wrong though. I don't think he's probably getting an autograph as well. Those are a little bit out of the fucking window. No one has bloody pens anymore ready for those. But if he gets to put the car in park or put the handbrake on, either or, but both have just failed miserably. And you just see in this video from the CCTV, the car slowly start rolling forward. Old mate just chucks a U. He tries to jump in to stop it, but no luck at all. And it just smashes into the car in front of him. And old mate, he's not just driving any car, mind you, he's driving the brand new Toyota Parado, which I'm pretty sure goes for like nearly $100,000. So not a cheap car to be smashing up, that's for sure. And it crashes into some poor person's, from what I can tell, Mitsubishi Lancer. But it's just one of the all-time balls ups. The driver then come out in the media, and from what I can tell, has said a bit of an elaborate story for the situation and how the incident has occurred. He was going back to must be some sort of store there to get gloves for his son, but then he saw Constance and he wanted to run ahead of him so he could go get his son to get a photo and all this different stuff. And that he was only parking in a disabled spot because it was going to be a moment. That's why he was kind of in a rush, but all of it just for me doesn't quite add up, honestly. From what I can see, it's just some bloke getting a little bit too excited to chase down a star and hot property, which is Sam Konstas, for that selfie, and forgetting to put the bad boy in park. Yeah, to be fair, with a lot of these newer cars, they've got those like little switch things instead of the actual full-blown handbrake to pull up, so you can forget it. I do in my girlfriend's car all the time. Like, I drive a car from the early 2000s, that's all mechanical, that thing's bad, bang, pull up the handbrake. So I can understand the forgetting to do it, but I just don't believe the whole story to go around it. And Sam Konstas apparently just like looked at it happy and going, yeah, sick. And he runs inside to let him know, hey, look, I've smashed up someone's car, and apparently his son already got a selfie with Sam Konstas anyway. So pretty funny situation to end up in. Feel sorry for the person whose car got smashed up, but supposedly the fella, he was trying to get a selfie, worked at some car place anyway, was going to hook him up and sort it all out. But yeah, Sam Konstas just causing mayhem. Now lastly, moving on to the results of UFC 311. Now I'm just going to straight up say I did not watch it all. Didn't have the time. Watched a couple of the main card fights that I was interested in, but I did not miss a single one at all. If you go look at my video from last week, bang, everything predicted correctly. Now, given the main event did change on day's notice, went to Islam Makhachev versus Renato Moicano, with Sarugian being out injured or sick or whatever the hell was going on. I'm just feeling that I did not load up on a bet. That would have paid ridiculous, because I think it was Marab was paying like $3, so that would have just boosted the odds ridiculously. But Islam did get up on him, but starting out, Holland, he got submitted in the first round, so bang, tick on that one. The next one did get promoted to the main card, but I would have gone with Almeida anyway. He got that done in, I think it was the first round as well, by TKO on Spivak, the polar bear. Yuri, he just did classic Yuri things. He knocked out Jamal Hill in the third round. He was looking a lot better. People were a little bit unsure how he was going to go. Knocked out a couple of times in his last few fights. Not a big fan of the old head movement thing, the old slipping punches, trying to avoid damage. So Jamal Hill, might not be the greatest light heavyweight going around, but undoubtedly he hits hard, especially at that weight. Anyone that lands clean, you're probably going to put someone to sleep. And Yuri clearly worked a little bit at least on his head movement, which was great. So he was just kind of doing his own thing, blitzing, stinging Jamal, knocked him down a few times, but then ended up just cleaning him up in that third round. The next fight, the bantamweight title fight between Merab and Umar Nurmagomedov, was just all time. That is definitely one of the best and most technical ones that we've ever seen. Like, that weight class is just ridiculous. Like, how fast and technical they are is just amazing to watch. But Merab, he lost the first 2 rounds, no worries. And then after that, he just started to wear on Umar. His pace was too much. His cardio for that little machine is off the charts. He just goes and goes and goes and goes and just cannot stop. You stop one takedown, bang, takedown another 5 seconds later, and he'll just rinse and repeat that and grind you to bits. And it just got to the point that Umar was he had nothing left. You thought it was going into the last round 2 apiece, so it could have been anyone's, I'd say, going into that last round. You thought Umar would have got one of the all-time talking tos by Khabib, one of those Leon Edwards, like, do you want this, Leon moments? And come out and get it done, but he just had nothing left, and it just got to the point Merab was showboating and taking the piss out of him. But super impressive performance. Now, I must say, and a photo did come out that Umar spoke about, he broke his hand pretty badly by the looks of it, apparently in the first round. So yes, that is going to significantly impact his ability to fight, sure, 100%, but other fighters have gone through it as well. Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, he's gone through it with the old Romero of all people, and it's not the first time to happen to people, but yes, it does impact quite a bit. And then the last one, so I put on Islam to submit Moicano. That was paying about $2.10, which I thought, bang, that's free money, thank you very much for coming. Looked like Moicano knocked him down at one point. He had a bit of size, like he's a tall dude, good kickboxing, but it was going to be dramas as soon as it hit the ground. It did look like he knocked him down, but the commentators were saying that it was a slip from Islam. I popped off when I saw that. I was like, holy shit, like if Moicano gets this done, that is insane, but didn't quite eventuate for him. Islam managed to get him down, bang, snap down City, Darce choke in. It was all over. I had a mate of mine, he needed it to start in round 2, he would have won $100, and it was like 40 seconds on the clock, and Islam's just, once he locks in something, there ain't any getting out of it. I guess unless you maybe Volk, but yeah, Moicano, props to him though for stepping up. Massive opportunity. I'm sure he'd be shattered, that he didn't quite manage to pull it off, but it is what it is. Trying to prepare for a guy of Islam's caliber on a day's notice is going to be tricky, like you would not believe. So just one of those things for Moicano. But that is everything for this week, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, like I was saying. I appreciate all the support. I'll catch you next week and have a good one.